A while back, I was on my computer, mindlessly scrolling through eBay, looking at car parts I had no intention to buy, like you do, and then I came across something interesting. A part I never thought I'd have the chance to own. So I had to buy it, even though it might not have been the best financial decision at the time.
I've been searching for a set of these for months. So Enhanced Performance used to make these tubular lower control arms with rose joints instead of bushings. And they shut down last year. The guy that owned the company wanted to focus on, I think it's Fabco that he runs, which sells pre-bent exhaust tubes and welding supplies for fabricators for working on cars, basically. And that business took off, and he didn't have time for Enhance anymore, from what I heard. So that's sort of the biggest manufacturer of VXR parts out of the game. The whole advantage of these is, same as a polybush, you get less play in a rose joint. Almost none. Can make them a bit harsh for road use. We'll see how bad that is. It's possible to use them on the road, but rose joints wear quite quickly. So it might not be the best idea if you do 15k a year in your car, but my VXR barely sees 3,000. So replacing these once a year isn't the worst thing for me. As a side effect of fitting the rose joints, you get adjustability. So you can screw this in and out. As you can see, these ones are screwed all the way in. But for example, this one is screwed out a little bit. You can see some threads showing. So the track width, the camber and the caster are all adjustable. The rose joints are much thinner than the original bushing, so you have to have these spacers, right, to fill the void. And with those spacers, you can put them all on one side of the arm and physically move the entire arm forward or backward,
Giving you significantly more caster than fitting caster bushes which Whiteline sell.
So that's the big benefit of these, is actually the added caster. And what that extra caster means is as you turn the wheel, you gain camber. So you can run a very conservative 1 or 1.5 degrees of camber static, pointed in a straight line. But once you turn in, you gain another 1.5, giving you like 3 degrees of camber when you turn in and 1.5 in a straight line. So you don't get the extra camber wear that you would normally see from running insane amounts of camber, because you just run lots of caster instead. So plan for these is, as you can see, one of them's a bit rusty, the other one's almost like new condition. Maybe it was parked with one wheel in the grass or something. But the plan is to strip these. I've already been soaking all the joints in PTFE GT85 spray, which is just like WD-40, so that the rose joints and these screws that hold the ball joints on can come off. I'm going to buy new ball joints, take these to a powder coating company and get them done in a nice blue, all the rust treated. Maybe Plascoat. Plascoat is like a lot tougher than a normal powder coat, should be chip resistant, so it'll just prevent this sort of peeling you can see from happening again. I'm not replacing the rose joints. I was told they've done 5 track days, and I don't think the car that they did those on was actually seeing road use. These are in very good condition, and there's no play in any of them, which is the main thing. I'll get these stripped down on camera, drop them off at the powder coating place off camera, and the next time you see them, hopefully, they're bright blue and looking good as new.
With the arms fully stripped off, I degreased them with kitchen cleaner in the shower like a true professional, just to make them a bit nicer to transport so they don't get muck everywhere. And I took them to Express Coatings in Sheffield, who did the plas coat for me. They did a brilliant job, and within a couple of days I had the parts back, but in a slightly different colour than expected because they didn't have any blue plas coat. So here's the end result. I went with anthracite because although not many people will be looking under the car, I assumed that would look a bit nicer than black. And it's an amazing transformation, they actually look brand new. All of the surface rust is gone, and you can tell the coating is super durable, especially when I dropped a spanner on it and it didn't leave a mark. I cleaned out the threads with a tap since a little bit of powder coat got in there, then I threaded the rose joints back in and fitted new ball joints, ready for the arms to go on the car. If you've followed this channel for a while, you're probably used to seeing me fit things myself, but in this case, for the sake of paying for a couple of hours labour, it was totally worth not having to roll around under the car when I'd have been paying the same shop that fitted them to align the car anyway, so I took it to Crisp Tuning in Wakefield, who did a great job of installing the arms and aligning the car, and didn't charge the earth to do it either. Here's the best clip I could get of them under the car. There's not much to it really, just fits like a normal control arm. So that's it for the fitting. Back to present day me for a review of the handling.
Continue on A58 for 4 miles.
So today we're on a very important pilgrimage that probably most VXR owners at this point have already experienced, which is to A&S Clutch Technology in Halifax for an M32 rebuild, but we'll get into that later on. So the lower arms are fitted, the alignment specs are not much more aggressive than stock. We've got 1.5 degrees of front camber, and apparently according to this VXR online post, the stock setting is 0.3 degrees up front, which is pretty much none, which is insane for a supposedly sporty road car. 3.8 degrees of caster, which is barely more than stock, and neutral toe, which is the same as stock. So we've gone for a pretty tame setup to start with. We can always add more caster by moving the spacers around on those arms to push them forward, and we can always add more camber anyway, like 2 or 3 degrees, which will make it a proper, full-on track alignment at that point. But I don't want to change too much just to start with. I want to see how much difference the arms make without changing too much about the alignment all at once. So, that being said, the arms do make a huge difference. The stock control arm bushings were pretty knackered, dropping to bits when they were removed, and these skip polybushes and go straight to a solid metal linkage. So the front end feel is much improved, very direct, changes direction instantly because there's no bushes in the front end anymore, which is brilliant really. It's not as harsh as you'd expect, like right now you can't tell they're fitted. Some bumps, you hit them and you can feel it in your bones, and I wouldn't want to hit a pothole at like 40 miles an hour, but to be honest, they're fine. So there's a good chance in 6 months I'll put coilovers on the car and then get it aligned again, get all that caster and camber added, and then really see how well we can make this thing grip. But for now, 1.5 degrees honestly makes it feel like a different car. It's like it's on rails compared to a wonky stock alignment, so I really can't complain. Now, as for the gearbox, if you saw my Cadwell video, you'll know that third is pretty dead. Don't want to be in third.
Down into third, then in, it's nice and early. Probably down to third, you can get away with here. Off, ready.
I almost caught it on camera on the way here when I started recording and downshifted to third to do a pull. It would not downshift into third, which is a common issue that I've been having lately, and it got worse with the abuse the car got at Cadwell. So I'm off to A&S to get the gearbox rebuilt for the third time in 2 years, 2 of which were at a gearbox place in Sheffield that messed it up the first time, put in a recon gearbox that had a crack in the pinion gear, which ruined my crown wheel, and they had to replace the crown wheel and put another gear set in under warranty, which was the second rebuild. That second gear set has had third synchro issues and first synchro issues since the day it was installed, and I just cut my losses with them and decided I'll see how long it lasts. Which brings us to today, going to a proper gearbox shop that know what they're doing with these, A&S Clutch in Halifax, and I'll update you when the gearbox is done.
Exit the roundabout onto Cowley Hill.
So I dropped the car off, waited in a cafe for a couple of hours, and the gearbox was done. Right, off home now from A&S Clutch. What can I say really? I mean, effortless company to deal with. It's in and out in 2 hours, exactly as quoted. And it ended up half the price that it was going to be. It didn't need anything doing to first, which they told me it might not in the first place, because first problems on these are usually not the synchro, but it's the actual selector or the shift cables, so that's another thing for me to sort eventually. But yeah, it came out at £280 for third synchro and third shift fork done. The bearings looked fine, so they didn't need doing. We thought they might need doing, but in the end they didn't, so he didn't do it for no reason and didn't charge me for it, which is what you want in a mechanic. So the last thing wrong with the car is the factory oil cooler is dripping oil down the back of it, whether that's the lines or the cooler. Rusty Autos, when they rebuilt the engine, did replace some seals to do with the oil cooler, but it hasn't fixed the problem, so I'm gonna get the cooler replaced, Nevlock to a kit with braided oil lines, so that's likely what I'll go for. And yeah, happy days really, we should be good for the Bedford track day. I'd like to get a gearbox breather on it so that we can overfill the box as well, but maybe after the next track day before the Nürburgring, where it's going to see much higher temps, and that should be in August. So yeah, hopefully we get a few track days in between now and then, sort out that one last issue with the car, and we'll be golden. It should be perfect and hopefully lovely to live with from now on and not cost me any more money that I don't want to spend on it. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.
Continue on A58.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really think anyone can save me, and honestly I'm not really sure I want saving. I like to be my own worst enemy. There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my head's on straight, gotta flip it and grip it and go and get an x-ray. What's wrong with me? I just feel weight pushing on my chest and it squeezes till I suffocate.